Hello, welcome to Global Business. I am Imewode Uhiamokai. The Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Finance, and even State Ministry of Finances, and of course the FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the State's Inland Revenue Services have been advertising VAIDS. But what do you know about VAIDS? How much do you know about it? We'll be letting you know as we take excerpts from an interactive session with journalists by Babatunde Fowler and his team in Abuja here. So maybe you may want to sit back and relax and also watch out for what you may need to gain from VAIDS. Now, for those of you who have been following the news, you knew that on November 29th, to be precise, the Minister of Finance issued a statement suspending the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The National Assembly, through the House of Representatives, said the minister must reverse its decisions because of a forensic audit of Oando Plc. A lot of drama has been going on the ground. Well, the minister has refused to keep silent again, and she speaks about that issue. We'll be telling you more about that on the program. And also on the program today, we shall announce our winners for the skill acquisition program, and of course, those who are going to take the loans, or those who are lucky to be qualified for the loans. All these and more on Global Business today. Welcome.
VAIDS means Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme. Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme. It is a scheme that has been put in place to allow taxpayers and citizens at large to review their tax status, check the level of compliance, and those who have not been complying to look at their affairs and use the opportunity to comply. The scheme is not a new tax law, I must emphasize. It is just a scheme to encourage taxpayers to comply with the existing law. So there's no new tax provision. It is a scheme that is meant to encourage taxpayers to comply with the existing law, which is the payment of your personal income tax, your company income tax, your value-added tax, withholding tax, where you're supposed to pay, and all of those taxes that we're going to mention. So it is not a new tax law. The importance of the scheme is as a result of the poor state of tax compliance in Nigeria. And it's been mentioned that the tax to GDP ratio is hovering around 5 to 6%, which is the lowest anywhere. And of course, we know that in several other advanced countries, even in Africa, the tax to GDP ratio starts from about 13 to 15, and then of course we have several that are even up to 30%. So the level of compliance with Nigerian tax is pretty very low. And government has seen that in order to increase that level of compliance, government has information on, what individuals and corporate bodies should be paying. But of course, before you implement a particular provision, you want to give people the opportunity to redress whatever wrong they have been doing. And that is why this program is tagged more or less an amnesty, that we know what tax we are supposed to be paying. We know we have information on the level of your income. We have information on your assets, okay? And but of course, before we go ahead and begin to apply the provision of the law, an amnesty was put in place, which is this particular VAIDS scheme, starting from 1st of July 2017, lasting up to 31st of March 2018 for 9 months. That for these 9 months, review your tax status. We have information on you. Review your tax status, declare your assets, declare your income, and pay the tax due before government takes action. It is not that government cannot start today. But of course, we know taxes, payment of tax is being preached over and over. And enforcement is being carried out. But now that government has more information as to what people should pay, as to when they should pay, they're giving them the opportunity before we start applying all the provisions, before we start applying, charging huge penalty and interest for late payment. Before prosecution will start, they are giving opportunity to taxpayers and every citizen to, tidy up their tax status. Of course, this program scheme is meant to generate revenue, immediate revenue. It is clear that government needs revenue. And with this scheme, asking people to come out voluntarily, one of the objectives is that when you come out voluntarily, you are likely to pay the tax you are declaring, saying, oh, I'm owing so much. It's different from when government is what? Is enforcing. So we're saying that this is also meant to generate immediate revenue for the government. And of course, again, there's a need to have a sustainable source of revenue. And world over, tax is the only sustainable source of revenue, not crude oil. Okay? The dependence on crude oil over the year, we have seen that it is not sustainable, the price is not stable, and government cannot really plan. But in advanced countries, the dependence is majorly on what? On tax. So we need to begin to widen the tax base. We need to cultivate the culture of tax compliance. We need to let people know that when you generate so much income and you return so much back to government, you will get the benefit of that tax you are returning to government. And that is the only sustainable source of revenue.
First of all, I'd like to make clear that regardless of the amount you hear, we're still at a starting point. Less than 5 companies so far have paid in the region of 17 billion, with another 6 billion that is expected to be paid before the end of December. So in terms of numbers, we still have not really got the type of crucial numbers that we're expecting. Let me give you some more indication. When we did the tax amnesty last year, we had 2,700 corporate accounts apply for it. So now we're talking about under 10 companies that have come under VAIDS. So there's still a lot more to be done. A lot of companies are asking questions, talking to consultants, so we expect a whole lot more to come in as the program progresses. Since the 1970s and the oil boom came to play, and because of the allocation or the division of federal revenue, most states do not see the need for taxation. At a certain point in time, in terms of revenue generation, Nigeria was among the top 5 in terms of earnings. Up until 2008, 2009, where there was a first drop in revenue from oil, and that's when the president established the excess crude account. So states did not feel it. So this is not the first time that there's been a drop in oil prices. Between 2008 and 2009, there was a 40% drop in oil prices. And any time there was a shortage in the tradition account, the president took money from the excess crude account and made up. This time, it is clear that if we expect sustainable economic development, there has to be a consistent flow of revenue, and that can only be gotten through taxation. The other issue was that to date, nobody has been sent to jail for tax evasion. And I think we do have laws in place, and when people see the seriousness of the country or the revenue agencies, there'll be a change. And then thirdly, we all know that a lot of states cannot even pay salaries. So even the governors have seen the seriousness that has to be applied in this new search for revenue. So I think this is a time where it is out of necessity. It has nothing to do with the FCC. It has nothing to do with politics. We as revenue administrators in the area of taxation are non-political. We will distrain a company owned by an APC member as quick as we distrain a company owned by a PDP member. So I assure you, and the Executive Secretary is also here, that we're non-political and we're basically here to serve Nigeria and the people of Nigeria.
Now, all the federal MDAs that you know, coming under the umbrella of the Accountant General of the Federation, having the Government Integration Financial Management Commission system, that's like a financial ERP solution. But basically, currently all transactions can be verified for the purpose of taxation, as the case may be, or I'm speaking particularly for FIRS mandates and for the JTB and the State Board of Internal Revenue Services. So there's a lot of robust infrastructure in terms of where Nigeria is right now among the top countries in Africa. So I'll tell you that will give you some comfort. Now, just to collapse your questions, in terms of digital transactions that we have right now, banking transactions, and how soon, basically, I think your questions are still intertwined. You see, for transactions, there are some transactions that follow some particular thresholds in terms of banking transactions too. And the authorities, based on the threshold for individuals and the ones for corporates, there's a trigger immediately. And every transaction you make has a unique identifier. Every transaction, no transaction will have a different ID. Every naira and kobo, even from the aspects of, yes, there's a lot of talk about reliance of BVN today, BVN and all that, for both individuals and corporates. There have been some major level of compliance from the formal sector in Nigeria, but also know that efforts are also geared towards even the informal sector, the unstructured sectors. And that's why I tell you things like transactions that are in nature. E-payments is the order of the day. Basically, even if you have just maybe about 20 employees, you naturally won't pay salaries through hand. This also speaks to the person that's talking about non-compliance in terms of remitting pay as you earn. But I want you to be rest assured that currently all transactions these days are warehoused and they can be pulled on demand. And for FIRS and for even the tax authorities that when there are cases of investigation, this data will be collected and verified upon.
Okay, so it's Mounir Gwarzo versus Kemi Adeosun. Mounir Gwarzo is the suspended Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and Kemi Adeosun is Nigeria's Minister of Finance. And they say it's all because of Oando Plc. The drama started November 29th when there was a report issued, a statement issued from the Ministry of Finance that Mounir Gwarzo and the head of legal and, of course, the head of media, 3 senior officers at the Securities and Exchange Commission had been suspended by the Ministry of Finance over alleged financial improprieties. Well, after then, stories started coming up. The minister may have suspended Gwarzo because of Gwarzo's intention to do a forensic audit in Oando Plc. And the National Assembly took up the gauntlet and said the minister should reverse that suspension based on Gwarzo's story, because Gwarzo, of course, may have leaked it to the press that this is why the minister suspended him. But the minister is standing her ground. In fact, she has come up to say Oando Plc forensic audit has actually started. She never, at any time, tried to stop it. Now, we'll start with the story of where the National Assembly tried or told the minister to reverse her suspension of Gwarzo, and listen to the minister's own side of the story. It is left for you to decide. You are the judge,
The Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, had announced the suspension of the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, over allegation of financial impropriety. Also suspended were 2 management staff of the commission. The lawmakers' action followed allegations that Gwarzo's insistence for a forensic audit of Oando Plc by the Securities and Exchange Commission as a result of protests by shareholders of the company led to the suspension.
The suspended DG is alleging that he replied to the verbal directives by the minister and letting her know of the implications of forgetting about that forensic audit. I wouldn't know the reason why a minister of the Republic will ask Security and Exchange Commission not to do its job. I wouldn't know why infractions will be swept under the carpet.
Angry by the development, the lawmakers called for a return to status quo pending the completion of investigation by the House.
To investigate the SEC matter, it is very, very important because we already have a pending case similar to this one in which there were allegations. The allegations have not yet been substantiated and the person is on suspension. Nothing has been done.
We should not stop anybody from carrying out SEC from carrying out the investigation. Because if that is really what is needed to make sure that we restore confidence of the market on the regulator, because SEC is the regulator in the market.
Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Capital Market and Institutions says the forensic audit on Oando Plc by the Securities and Exchange Commission must be concluded, irrespective of the allegations against the DG of the Commission.
Ordinarily, as the Minister, I would not have responded because I am responsible for the approval of the constitution of the Administrative Panel of Inquiry into the allegations against Mr. Mounir himself. However, given the degree of speculation currently ongoing and the potential impact on the capital market, I believe there's a need for myself as the Minister to set the record straight as follows. Number one, the integrity of the capital market is vital to the growth of the Nigerian economy, and it must be managed in an orderly and transparent manner to ensure investor confidence, and its leadership must maintain and be seen to maintain the highest standards of integrity. Two, the original decision taken by the SEC on October the 20th, 2017 to suspend the shares of Oando and to conduct a forensic audit were approved and endorsed by the Ministry of Finance. The SEC team, led by Mr. Mounir, presented adequate evidence to the Minister of Finance and my team here present that Oando Plc had a clear case to answer with regards to infractions of the ISA. And no contrary evidence has been presented to date. Thus, the investigative work on Oando and indeed all other ongoing investigations currently being undertaken by the SEC in the discharge of its statutory functions have continued. Our information is that forensic auditors have resumed at SEC. For the avoidance of doubt, there was no directive whatsoever to discontinue investigation into Oando, and this has been reiterated to the current management and leadership of the SEC. The Federal Ministry of Finance would like to place on record that Gwarzo's suspension is in line with public service rules to allow for an unhindered investigation of serious allegations of financial impropriety against him. And some of those allegations, for which we have documented evidence, include the award of contracts to companies related to him and members of his family. The answer to why it took so long is that suspending a very senior member of the financial regulatory community must be taken seriously. You must have adequate evidence. So when there was grey areas between what he had said and what was on file, we then sent the file back for them to gather more evidence. And it was on the presentation of that evidence that we took the decision on Monday. His decision to suspend him was taken on Monday the 27th. Was there a meeting? Yes, there was a meeting on Monday the 27th. It's that same meeting and these are the parties that were there. And that's why they're here. But at that meeting, he was never directed to stop his investigation into Oando. Never. He was never directed to do so. In fact, as I said earlier in my statement, in October, when the original suspension of Oando took place, we had a group meeting with the leadership of SEC, not just Mr. Gwarzo, but all of his team. And they presented very clear evidence that Oando had a case to answer. And we were satisfied with that, and that remains our position. I earned my living in the capital market in Nigeria up until my joining public service. I was a capital market operator, and the capital market runs on confidence and transparency. It's a very important market. And the SEC is not an individual, it's an institution, and a very, very important one, which must be upheld. Investors, we believe, have reacted positively. They know that we stand for integrity. They know that there is no attempt to interfere with any ongoing investigation. Investigations must continue. And let me close by saying there are 2 investigations to which we will all need to wait for the results. One is the administrative panel of inquiry into the allegations against Mr. Mounir Gwarzo. That administrative panel of inquiry is concluding its work, and when in line with public service rules, it will shortly conclude its work. The second is the investigation into Oando, and the 2 are separate, completely separate.
Well, so it's Mounir Gwarzo versus Kemi Adeosun versus Oando. Well, Oando is in the picture right there. Many people believe that Mounir Gwarzo may not have allegedly committed all that they said he did in SEC if there was a board. Many government institutions, 2 years, more than 2 years, 2.5 years into these administrations, still do not have boards. And so the chief executive officers can act as they can because they have no boards to answer to. What is the Nigerian government waiting for to put boards on various institutions? Government institutions, they serve as checks. Anyway, let us announce to you that we have winning mails and winning text messages for our loan scheme and our skill empowerment program. Let's see them. Congratulations to you if you won. Remember, this is a global business and tap project. Congratulations, and you shall be contacted. Just be rest assured, you shall be contacted. I am Mounir. It's always nice doing business with you. Let's do business again next week. Have a great week.